Hello, friends and beautiful people. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of All Things Ascension. Today we're going to talk about how the universe never tests you. It is only and ever asking you to choose. Let's see who's going to jump on here. We shall see. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm live and in the right place. That's really important. So here we are at this jumping off point for spring. And all of the possibilities that come with that. Hello, say hi if you're here. Let me know you're here. I need to get some water. How's everybody doing today? So, a couple things before I begin. My new book is out, Notes on Ascension. A primer for unity consciousness and the great earth experiment of spiritual awakening. It is out now. You can get it on Amazon. You can order it from my website. I'll put the links below down here. This is only available as an ebook, not a physical book, so you download it. I don't know if I'm going to be publishing a physical copy, but what's cool about downloading it is that there are links inside the downloadable book. So you have access to extra energy activations, discussions on all things spiritual awakening and ascension, guided meditations. So there are links for that in the downloadable book. So that's an extra bonus. And considering that it's only $9.99, that's pretty cool. So it is out now. I will put the links in the comments here when you're done, or you can just private message me. I have a crash course coming out, You-nity and Conscious Creation crash course. This is for those of you who are having a rocky start to 2021 and still feeling like everything is just the same as last year. My human self is having a real hard time catching up with my spiritual self, my soul self. We're not on the same page. We're not doing the same things. Hey, Angela. Hi, gorgeous. You have different sets of beliefs and they're not matching up. And there is an awareness that the infinite you is carrying on this fantastic life and this fantastic creation or connection with source and all of creation. Yet the human you feels really bound to a reality that used to be. And this is going to be kind of a whirlwind 3 days. It's going to be action-packed, and the fact that it's only $77 is pretty amazing. Don't turn away from that price point and think that this is not going to be a high-value program. It is. And it's 3 days of 90-minute calls, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, the 31st of March, the 1st of April, and the 2nd of April at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Calls are going to be about 90 minutes. We're going to have a Facebook group where we can discuss, and as always, where I can put in bonus content for you guys. And you'll have support in the group over the 3 days. If you are really dragging your feet on a project, if you feel like your creativity and imagination is completely stymied at the moment, if you feel that the universe does not have your back and you feel like the universe is testing you, and I'm going to talk about that here today, this is a program for you. It doesn't matter where you're at spiritually. It doesn't matter if you are a spiritual healer, a way shower, if you're just trying to get through life at the moment. There is something for everyone in this program. It is going to be an amazing crash course and with an incredible investment for a high value program at $77. So if this is for you, I put the post up here in the group today. I will also have links in the comments for you for that. So hey everyone who's joining, Hajante. Let's see who else is here. I can't see who else is here, but I see a lot of folks. But that's okay. You can say hi if you like, or you can be in the shadows if you like to. That's okay. So when people say things like, I just feel like the universe is testing me right now. I have all these challenges. I have all these issues in front of me and nothing seems to be working. And let's clear up that belief right away. Let's just go ahead and attack that right off the bat. The universe never tests you. That implies that the universe has judgment. People with ego have judgment. The universe has no judgment. The universe only and ever asks you to choose. That's all the universe does. When something is in front of you, a challenge, an issue, something that is giving you a hard time at the moment, making you question your sanity, making you question your choices and decisions in life, making you question the people that you choose to surround yourself with, making you question the things that you've decided to do with your life, the path that you've decided to take, okay? And you feel like nothing is working. You have an idea of how you'd like your life to work out. You have wants, you have desires, etc. But none of that seems to be gelling. And so our go-to often can be that belief, which is erroneous, that the universe must just be testing me. Never. Never, 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 never is the universe testing you. Let's just clear that up right away. That implies the universe has judgment. The universe doesn't have judgment. It just wants to know what you desire. Now, what you want is different than what you desire. Now, why is that? Want comes from a place of lack. Want, by its very energetic nature and vibration, comes from a place of lack. I don't have this. It's not here. I don't possess it. It is not in my domain. I want it. This automatically springs from a place of lack. I don't have, I'm not, etc. When you desire something, this is the actual kindling. This is the fuel for creation. Desire is a completely different energetic component. Desire is a completely different vibration that you hold. It is the kindling. It is the fuel. It is that inner pilot light of you as a creator being launching forth a set of, let's just say, energetic tethers that kind of cast a net out into the universe. Because from this desire, you've created something that you've imagined, something you've envisioned, a feeling even. And the feeling is even better because this lets you cast forth your desire with a very, very tangible, like butterfly net that pulls this physical manifestation, whatever matches that in frequency, back to you in your life, okay? It's always the feeling that does that. So think about when you're launching a desire. Completely rearrange your thinking around this. Want comes from lack, and in fact, change your verbiage, change your language. I want this. Get rid of that. Knock it out of your vocabulary. Substitute it with I desire, and then fill in the blank. And the second you create that declaration of I desire, feel it as if it's right there. What would it feel like to have this thing? Because the second you launch that desire in thought, in vision, if you match it with the frequency of the feeling of what it feels like to have this thing show up in your life as if it's there right now, what you're doing is you're casting forth you as a creator being who creates every single part of your reality. You are casting forth a desire in a complete package, meaning there's nothing random about what you're putting forth, okay? So the reason why our go-to can be really wonky and ineffectual, and why the thinking is erroneous around the universe doesn't have my back, or the universe is testing me. No, 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 no. the universe is not getting a clear broadcast of your desire. And I want you to feel into that just for a second. Put your hands on your heart and just take a deep breath in. And think about what it is right now that you truly desire. This could be an event, this could be a situation, it could be a soulmate partner, it could be a skill set showing up in your life. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You as a creator being have the power to launch this desire powerfully and clearly send that broadcast out to the universe, letting the universe know in no uncertain terms that this is what is desired by you to create, okay? Or to have the universe co-create with you would be the correct way to say it, because we don't do it on our own. You know, we don't exist in a vacuum. We are part of this incredible sphere of infinite possibilities. We are just but a point of light on this sphere of all possibilities. If you've taken my Timelines Expanded course and you've done the quantum time jumping exercise, you know the sphere of all possibilities quite well. And you have a tangible experience with it that's really powerful. So think of yourself as you launch this desire. You put your hands on your heart, you close your eyes, you have the vision of this thing, and you bring in the feeling. And you expand this feeling around you of what it would feel like to have this thing, be this thing, do this thing, etc. You are making this, the longer you hold this vibration within you, the longer you hold this vision with the feeling attached to it, you are setting forth a very powerful prayer, a declaration, an intention to the universe. The longer you hold this intention, vision, feeling, vibration, the clearer your broadcast is to the universe. So your ask becomes so vivid, so powerful, so unfuckable with, pardon my French, that the universe says, "Oh, thank you." We've just been sending you random things because you've been sending us random energetic signals and broadcasts. So the universe says, we'll stop sending you random things showing up in your reality that kind of sort of seem like your desire, but aren't really. That's only and ever a reflection of you sending out a desire that's kind of wonky to begin with. It's not a clear broadcast. There's static between you and that desire. And that static can be there for a number of reasons. I'm not worthy. I'll barter for something lesser than because I think I might be able to have that. Which is all bullshit, by the way, because we're creator beings. But we often do this, don't we? When we feel like our desires are too big based on whose idea? Based on what? Always and ever based on your own idea of worthiness. That's the secret sauce. That's the key. So if you're sending out a signal that, hey, universe, I desire this thing. Remember, we're getting want out of our vocabulary because it really does. It's not a word that works for us. If we believe that we're creator beings, then we don't want for anything. It's already there. We just have to show up in the energetic vibration to match it. Okay? And there's no test there. It's only the universe asking you, how bad do you want it? How clear you're going to make your broadcast to us as your co-creator, as these infinite points on a sphere or a grid, and we'll go into this more in a second, that light up the second your desire is so crystal clear. The sphere of all possibilities, think of it as a matrix of infinite points of light with lines of connection. So that when you close your eyes and you really go into your desire and your vision and the feeling of having it, you can also imagine the sphere of possibilities. It's a sphere that goes way out into the universal energy matrix of the all that is. And when you launch this desire, you as a creator being who has every power to create your reality, and you do, whether you think you do or not, you are creating your reality every single second, every nanosecond, every minute, every hour. When you think of your desire and you think of this sphere of all possibilities and you see infinite points of light, you can see yourself as a point of light on it. And as you launch this desire, you notice all of these other points of light lighting up on the sphere of all possibilities. And you may even see, as you sit with this vibration longer, lines of connection linking up and lighting up these points of light on the sphere of all possibilities. what you're looking at, what you're viewing, and the energy that you're sitting and marinating in is actually all the different potentials of ways this desire can show up. And another reason we get fixed in this thinking and this erroneous belief that the universe is testing us when we think we're being clear about what we desire is that we become very myopic about, well, I desire this thing and it showed up this way before, so it has to look like this. It has to come in this container. It has to come through this person. It has to show up in this time frame. All of these things are your finite, contracted human deciding what your soul self has best in store for you. From this very contracted and microscopic sphere of reference, you are cutting yourself off from infinite numbers of possibilities and probabilities of the way this desire can show up. And your soul self is saying, why the F would she do that? That's silly. Because I know part of her really believes that she's capable of doing, having, being anything. I know that she's still struggling with worthiness. I know she's still struggling with thinking she has to barter for what she desires, but she's got to know somewhere deep down in that human vessel of hers that she's capable of so much more. Why would she limit herself in that way? So meanwhile, the universe is over here saying, well, here's how it could show up. 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 All these different potentials are lighting up and right in your path. But because you're so fixed on thinking this manifestation has to show up in this way, in this form, in this time frame, you don't even see it. You are literally veiling your perception to all these other ways the universe is saying, how about this? How about this? How about this? And it doesn't mean you have to accept all of those potentials. But it's like going on and trying on a pair of shoes, when we used to be able to do that before COVID, and seeing like, does this fit? Here's the thing, and here's where we also get a little effed up in our thinking, and we think the universe is testing us. The universe will often offer things up to us and say, okay, I kind of get where you're at, Kathryn. How about this? And the thing that you can do as a creator being with infinite potentials in front of you that never exhaust themselves, by the way, until you get it right and you find that perfect match with the universe co-creating with you and offering something up that matches the frequency of your desire, until you get it just right, until you get that Goldilocks scenario, there's a lot of different things you can try on for size. And it doesn't mean ever that if you try something on, you're like, I'm walking in these shoes and they kind of feel right, like they fit, but I don't like the color. Try again. So the universe says, okay, we'll try again. It's only and ever when you start thinking that if you refuse a gift from the universe, that it'll never show up again. That's your human, again, trying to be the creator. It will never work. When you're in your human self and you are like, no, it's got to show up this way. And if I say no to this once, that means the universe is never going to bring it to me again. There's your human contracted awareness in that want again and in that lack. There's no lack. When you are in your creator being self, in the soul infinite aspect of you, the objective you, the big you, you are working with an energy grid that does not exhaust itself. It is an inexhaustible supply of energy that keeps on giving, like the Energizer Bunny. When you're in your human ego contracted self, and you are operating from the thinking of comparison and competition and finite and lack, you are cutting yourself off from infinite possibilities and potentials that the universe could offer up for you in any given moment, at any time, anywhere, any place, through any person, through any possibility, through any event, through any situation, through any time frame. It is only your human contracted level of self that says, I'm only going to get one shot at this. And if I don't get it now, someone else is going to take it. No. What is meant for you is meant for you because you are in a matching vibration for it to show up. Not because someone else is going to take it from you if you decide this isn't for me now. You can even get rid of something that the universe says, hey, how about this? And you try it out for size and you're like, nah, maybe you're in a funky place. You're in a funky place of unworthiness and you've cast it aside. You say, no thanks. But here's your power as a creator being. You can come back to the universe the next day, the next hour, and say, you know what? I changed my mind. I do desire that. But it's up to you to get into that vibrational level again to attract it. It's only and ever about your vibration. It's only ever about the energetic spectrum of frequency that you're taking up. You're going to align with everything that matches that spectrum of frequency that you're in. So it doesn't matter how many times you say no to something, or this doesn't fit right, or bring it in a different color, or bring it in a different package, not quite right, it's not quite the Goldilocks scenario for me just yet. The universe says, okay. It's about the vibration that you're in when you're saying that. If you're in your human contracted self, and you're an ego, and you think that you're working with a finite grid of energy, that's because you are. And if you're in that belief and instruction set, that you're basically giving out instructions from that ego point of view, you're going to have a contracted experience. You're going to have a finite and limited experience that is marinating in lack instead of abundance. Is this making sense to anybody? I'm not getting any comments or anything, but is this resonating for you guys? So let's bring that back around again to the universe is testing me. No. The universe is asking you, what vibration are you choosing? One. And what vibration are you choosing to maintain? What are you willing to take the effort to sustain for yourself? Our go-to, our conditioning, our habituation has dictated in the past that our default setting is lack. But that's only and ever been your choice. Sure, it's conditioning. Sure, it's habituation. Sure, it's what you're used to. And maybe even in an effed up way, your comfort level is to be in lack. That's why so many of us who suddenly come upon a great deal of abundance and kind of quantum leap into prosperity and abundance, it's gone just as fast as it came in. Because we're too habituated to lack. We're too habituated to being in a frequency where we can't sustain this great thing in our life because we're not an energetic match for it. That's not our default setting. But you can choose differently. And you can choose differently now. You can choose differently tomorrow. But there is only an ever now. Let's not kid ourselves. There is only an ever now. Why wouldn't you choose differently right now? And yes, at first, it does take some work and some practice and some effort to sustain that vibration that matches the prosperity and abundance you're asking for. But that's the nature of our 3D experience. It takes time. You know, time is that buffer between events. We're used to the density of 3D here. So we're used to certain things taking a longer time to show up. And getting habituated and conditioned to something new takes time. It's that buffer in between events. It's that buffer in between you being someone who vibrates in lack to you being someone who vibrates in abundance. It takes your effort and your participation to do that. And in 3D, we do until we become. But here's the thing. Everything is accelerating. We are privy to much higher frequencies on this planet than we ever have been. And whenever this happens, the universe brings us an invitation. When we accelerate into a higher frequency, a higher energetic signature and octave of who we are, it's asking us to sign a new contract. And in that new contract, there are all kinds of clauses. What are you willing to believe now? What are you willing to think now? How are you willing to act now? How are you willing to change your attitudes, opinions, etc. now? How are you willing to swap out certain events that have defined you in the past for new ones to define who you are going forward? The universe is always and ever asking. And right now it is asking you to sign a new contract for who you are. I feel the leveling up too. It's been huge. This year for me has been a massive level up. I got a lot of massive downloads in the middle of December of 2020, and everything just kind of accelerated in my life. Around my business, my personal life, everything has been incremental up levels that have all felt very big for me. And at every single one of those intervals, at every single one of those like intermissions between, all right, this is time to say goodbye to that old self, to put some of that old self down so you can pick up this new self, this little intermezzo period in between that has always been an invitation from the universe to say, okay, what are you willing to believe now? You ready to sign a new contract? What are you willing to have an attitude about now or an opinion about now? Is it different than where you were before? Because it kind of has to be. Because the potentials that are online now and available for you are different than they've ever been. So you're going to have to say yes to things in a different vibration of you. I'm not saying that's easy, but it is what the universe is asking you to do. And it's asking you, it's not challenging you or testing you. It is asking you, how much do you want this change? How much do you want this desire that you're asking for? How big is this intention? Are you willing to let go of the old you to make room for the new you to show up? Are you willing to let go of certain things in your life? And this can sometimes mean events. It can mean people. We're all having a hard time with the shift, Marissa. We are all having a hard time with the shift. Every single one of us. But again, how bad do you want it? Let me ask you this, and anyone who's struggling as well with this shift. What's in it for you if you stay exactly where you are? Do you expect different outcomes in your life that are resonant of what you're asking for if you stay exactly where you are? Are you willing to keep playing that old game of self-deception? That if I keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm wanting something different, that something else is going to show up? It's not going to. Because all the universe sees with the energetic vibration of want is you in lack. Wanting is finite in and of itself. Want is just a continued state of want. It's just more want. So if you are wanting something, the universe sends you more vibrational matches with want. Does that make sense? It's a closed door. Like getting out the door feels impossible. I understand that. But here's the thing. We can often get really, really stuck on the fact that we have to make massive changes, that we have to have a quantum leap forward. But I'll be totally honest, in doing what I've done over the last 20 years plus, working with clients, it's not really ever the huge quantum leaps that create the big changes in life that we want to see. It's the incremental ones that we create momentum around, meaning you do something small every day. That's a little bit of a departure, a little bit different than what you did the day before. That's the secret sauce for most of us, because I will be totally honest with you. A lot of times when I see people who are, and there are some people who are great with this, having massive quantum leaps forward, they want to just change everything, like every single area of their life, like, let's fucking do this. Let's knock this sucker out. There are people who love that, but they are not the norm. Most people, and especially most clients that I've worked with over the last 2 decades, the most successes they have seen have come from small upgrades on a regular, consistent basis over time. That is what has been, what yielded the biggest compound benefits over time, is those small changes. And a small change can be even something as mundane as this, or we think it's mundane. Reaching for the next best available vibration? Usually it's gratitude. How easy is that? That's one of the easiest things you can do. You can be grateful for the air that you breathe. You can be grateful for your dog. You can be grateful for hot water in the shower. You can be grateful for a delicious cup of coffee. You can be grateful for grass under your feet. You can be grateful for the sun on your face. Everyone on this planet, I don't care who you are, where you are, what your situation is, has something to be grateful for, and that is always the next best available vibration. Start there. Something small. Don't get hung up on, well, I have to do something small, and I have to do all these small things until it adds up to that. Guess what aspect of you is coming at that? Your human you, the small you, the contracted you, that only sees all the effort that you have to put forth and probably at the end of the day, no real results. Because you're basing it off of the human ego you that only has a basis of information on what is known. The ego you can never make any decisions or arrive at any conclusions that have to do with the unknown, the unwritten future. The ego you has no ability to scope that and look at it and make an assumption on what's next. It will shut it down. Why? Because that's what it's programmed to do. It'll tell you this is unsafe. Anything that is known is unsafe. It's unstable. Don't go there. The ego is not bad. It's just doing what it's programmed to do. Keep you safe. But when you are looking at higher potentials for your lifetime, you have no business going to the ego or the small you for its 2 cents. You have no business. The ego has no business. Don't solicit it. You can talk to the ego. I do it all the time. I'm always doing stuff that feels big. If you've ever taken any of the classes with me, you know I talk about some pretty big, nebulous, esoteric topics. Does this always feel really safe and comfortable for me to go into those spaces and explore those dimensional realms and new spaces that to my ego, small, contracted me, are really out there and scary? Sure, if I allow the ego to be in the driver's seat. But I don't go into these places and explore these realms and go into a place of excavation from this limited, contracted vantage point of myself. I would never be able to do half the classes that I've offered. Okay? Even when you are in this place of generating a level of, God, I just want to imagine something better for myself. I can see and feel something better for myself. I don't know what it is just yet. But what if I could just go into my heart and say, God, self, God, self, God, self. God, self, God, self, God, self. God, self, God, self, God, self. Show me the sphere of infinite possibilities. And you can literally see a giant globe of points of light. And you could, as you sit in this vibration even longer, imagine lines of connection, connecting all those points of light. And maybe you have a sense that they're lighting up. Who cares if you don't know what they mean just yet? These are showing you potentials that are out there, that are awaiting you to get in a matching vibration to claim it. That's it. But the universe can't do that for you. It can only show you the way. It can only show you the path. It can only make privy to you, like, here's the vibration. Are you willing to not only access that vibration, but do things in your life to maintain it and sustain it so you can keep these things that you're asking for? Because here's another thing. When we move out of the vibration in order to be able to hold on to something that we think of as prosperous and abundant, if we don't maintain that vibration, everything that matches that spectrum of frequency goes away. It shifts. And the next frequency vibration that we occupy, we're calling in all the stuff that matches that. Huge opportunities are available to me. I'm afraid of falling. You're never going to... Failing or falling? Failing. Failing is good. Failing is awesome. I have failed spectacularly in my life, and failure is nothing to be afraid of. It's something to embrace. Yes, embrace. Why? Because we don't learn anything when we keep succeeding. There's a revelation. We only learn about ourselves more, know ourselves more, know our nuanced and finessed desires more when we fail. Does that let you off the hook a little bit? It should. And it should feel great. It should feel a lot bigger. You should never have a fear of failing. Failing is wonderful. Failing is a lesson. Failing is a learning experience. Failing is opportunity for growth. Failure is splendid. And I have failed so many times. So many times. I had a course that I taught a little while ago, Heal, Awaken, Align Bootcamp for spiritual entrepreneurs. And I have a whole section on failing and how it is something to be embraced and something to be loved. Because if you come at this, again, with the God self aspect of you, the objective you, the big you, the infinite you, and you look at failure, you're like, isn't that interesting that that happened? And you don't have to attach yourself to it like, oh, now I have to go back and do this thing again. No, you get the opportunity to refine your experience. Failure is wonderful. We don't learn anything when we keep succeeding. I mean, you may, pick up some things like when I do A, B, and C, this tends to show up, right? But that's really linear. It serves you, it can serve you. But when you're failing, you have an opportunity to sift through the contrast, because everything about 3D life and experience is contrast. So with failure, it is a tool for you to sift through the contrast of what you don't want. What you don't desire is a better way to say it. And what doesn't match the frequency or the vibration that you would like to continue to hold in this lifetime. Failure is wonderful. Never fear failure. Never, ever, ever. It is always, say this, write it down. Failure is an opportunity to refine my experience. Because that's what it is. And it's the objective God self you that's going to tell you that. The contracted ego self you is going to say, oh, now I have to start over. Starting over is good. Because it forces us to look at the steps that we've taken. Or, you could look at failure and just say, I give up. But a lot of us who fail spectacularly get to retrace our steps. We get to reverse engineer what we did to get us to the failure and say, I could just change that one thing. The only reason I failed is because this one thing was out of step. It was a misstep. It didn't match with everything else that was going on. Now I see. Great. Right? I know that intellectually about failing. It's failing the people around me that I'm scared of. You don't have to worry about anyone else except you. Here's another revelation. You are the only one that you're responsible for. That I know that sounds like harsh, and we have families, we have children, etc. But think about it this way. I invite you to look at it in these terms. If you are failing yourself, how can you possibly show up as the highest and best container to support someone else? That is folly to think that if you're not taking care of your needs and your desires and fortifying your vessel, your container, satisfying your needs first, how are you ever going to have the energetic sustenance to help someone else, support someone else, be there for someone else fully? From a depleted vessel, a half-full vessel, you will never, ever be able to do that. Don't swindle yourself into thinking otherwise. That's a painful lesson that many of us have had to learn, myself included. You got to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? And here's the thing. when you say that you know something intellectually, there's that habituation, there's that conditioning again, there's that rational mind again. Where we're going, it has to be a marriage between the intellectual and the spiritual, between the physical and the infinite. The more we learn to partner these essences of ourself and join them up. In fact, that's what the You-nity Consciousness Creation crash course I'm teaching next week is all about. So Marissa, I invite you to join me if you're really struggling right now. At this investment, it's kind of hard to pass it up. So does this make sense to you guys? Is this hitting you in the feels where it needs to? I hope so. I really hope so. And if you want to explore this more and you want more inspiration like this and you want to take 3 days of a crash course where you're going to be bathing in this energy, in this inspiration, in this creativity, this way of nuancing your thinking so that you can embrace where you're going instead of trying to hold on to who you've been, I invite you to join me in this class. Yes, it is, Allison says. Beautiful. Does anyone have any questions for me before we close out? I felt so inspired to bring you guys this information because I've been seeing so many Facebook posts from people who are just like, I just can't get it. It's just things aren't matching up. I'm tired of the universe testing you. And we have to throw that idea out completely. Thank you, Marissa. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here and watching. And for those of you who really feel like you got something out of this, listen to this again. Listen to this again. And listen to it, from a place where you can even talk to your ego and say, hey, ego, why don't you take a back seat for a couple seconds? Try to smash it down. That never works. But just talk to your ego like it's an old friend, because it is. And say, hey, you know what? I just need you to, sit in the passenger seat for a couple minutes instead of the driver's seat. We're going to have this time and we're going to integrate you back into this after I've taken the time to listen. But I'm asking for the higher God self aspect of me to really perk up its ears and listen and pay attention here. Okay? And then see how differently this energy feels to you of this talk. And maybe it felt really different for you to just hear it today. Maybe you were in the right place to hear it. You showed up at the right time. I find that there are so many men in the position that you're in. You're the first woman with this message. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Marissa. Very interesting. So many blessings to you all. I'm going to put the link down here for my book if you want to purchase that. But if you are getting into the Unity and Consciousness Creation, Unity and Conscious Creation workshop. It's a crash course, March 31st, April 1st, April 2nd, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 90-minute calls over 3 days, lots of information, lots of great mindset shifts, lots of tools, some energy activations. We're going to hit all the good pertinent points in 3 days. I'm very organized about that stuff. And you're going to walk away with something that's going to yield compound benefits to you over time. It's not like you'll just walk away from this class and it's done. It will leave you in an energetic vibration where you're going to feel the possibilities that are right there in front of you. It's going to unveil those blinders that you have on where you're not seeing the universe delivering all these things you're asking for, and they're just delivering them in ways that you hadn't seen before and noticed before or been conditioned to before. Let's work around that. Let's bring in these new energies. Let's focus on the energetics of why you're not bringing in your true desires, or why you think you have to bargain for them, or match what has been before, or have it look like what has been before. Let's get beyond that. It's time. You're ready, right? And if you join the Unity and Conscious Creation crash course, you get my book with this crash course too. And we'll have a Facebook group where we'll have discussion, and I always include bonus material. So this is a steal at $77, you guys, especially for those of you who are feeling like, I'm just stuck. I'm in a rut. I can't move forward. I don't even know what's next. I don't know who I am anymore. This is for you. Love and peace, my friends.